HarperCollins presents Voice for the Voiceless by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Read by Edoardo Ballerini. A note before we begin. Don't forget to download the accompanying enhancement PDF from your audiobook provider. It contains a map, bibliography, and appendices from the book. Preface. On March 17, 1959, in the darkness and frozen air of the night, I slipped out of the main gate of the Norbalinka Palace, disguised and wearing a chupa, an everyday layman's form of clothing. That began what turned out to be more than 6 decades of life in exile away from my homeland of Tibet. Although the seed that grew into my need to flee was sown by the communist Chinese invasion of my country in 1950, the immediate trigger was the tension that had been building up in the Tibetan capital city of Lhasa, exploding into a people's uprising on March 10, 1959. For nearly 9 years after the invasion, I had tried to come to some kind of accommodation with the communist Chinese for the sake of my people's well-being. But it was an impossible task. A few days after my departure, China's People's Liberation Army bombarded the city. In this way, the tragic tale of my homeland and people over the second half of the 20th century and into the 21st unfolded. Ever since first being forced into exile in India in 1959, my primary task has been the cause of Tibet and its people. I am now approaching my 9th decade. The issue of Tibet remains unresolved, while my homeland is still in the grip of repressive communist Chinese rule. Tibetans inside Tibet continue to be deprived of their dignity as a people and their freedom to live their lives according to their own wishes and their culture, as they did for more than a millennium before 1950. Since any expression of Tibetan identity is seen today as a threat by Tibet's new rulers, there is the danger that in the name of stability and territorial integrity, attempts might be made to erase our civilization. This book is primarily an account of more than 7 decades of my dealing with successive leaders of Communist China on behalf of Tibet and its people. It is also an appeal to the conscience of the Chinese people, many of whom share with us a spiritual heritage in Mahayana Buddhism, which I refer to as the Sanskrit tradition, as well as the broader international community, to care for the plight of the Tibetan people. Ours is an existential crisis. The very survival of an ancient people and their culture, language, and religion is at stake. Drawing on the lessons learned from my long period of engagement with Beijing, the book also aims to offer some suggestions on what might be the path forward. Given that ours is the struggle of a people with a long history of distinct civilization, it will, if necessary, continue beyond my lifetime. The right of the Tibetan people to be the custodians of their own homeland cannot be indefinitely denied, nor can their aspiration for freedom be crushed forever through oppression. One clear lesson we know from history is this: if you keep people permanently unhappy, you cannot have a stable society. Introduction. Unlike all my other missions, which I have chosen for myself, the responsibility for the nation and people of Tibet was placed upon me the moment I was recognized as the Dalai Lama at the age of 2. It was formalized in 1950, when I became Tibet's temporal leader at the age of 16. This is according to the Tibetan system of counting. According to the non-Tibetan system, the Dalai Lama's age at the time was 15. Since that time, I have carried the duty of protecting Tibet and its people, as well as our culture, at the center of my heart, and will do so as long as I am alive. This principal commitment is in addition to the other commitments that I have taken on as part of my life's mission, including promoting fundamental human values based on a universal or secular approach to ethics, fostering interreligious understanding and harmony, and encouraging a deeper appreciation of India's ancient wisdom and knowledge. In these other domains, I feel happy that I have been able to make some tangible contributions through wide-ranging conversations, the writing of books, and extensive international visits. In the case of Tibet, my first and most intimate
Sample complete. Ready to continue?